Warm welcome, everyone. I'm Olga Lane, PR and Partnership Manager at Admind Branding and Communication. And I'll be your host today for a very special webinar that asks or answers a bold question: can designers really save the world? Now, I know that's a big question to throw at you on Wednesday afternoon, but don't worry. We've invited some amazing guests to help us unpack it. So let us wait a few more minutes for everyone to join. So please get comfortable. So before we dive into our panel, let me run through a few quick housekeeping notes. So this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all of you afterwards. If everything goes well, of course, please use the Q&A section at any time during the meeting and submit your questions, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can during the final part of today's webinar. And please do engage in the chat. We'd love to see where you're joining us from, what brought you here, or just to hear your thoughts during this session. So you're very welcome to do so. So this discussion is also part of B Corp Month, which is a global celebration of businesses that meet the highest standards of social and environmental responsibility. And I'm thrilled to say that all three agencies represented today, so Base Design, Applied Information Group and Admind, are proud B Corp-certified organizations. So we're just waiting one more minute for the rest of our attendees to join, and we'll be starting very shortly. So this webinar is part of our larger series, AdmindWebinars, aimed at sharing valuable insights into emerging trends and best practices in both design and brand management. Okay. So, it's so great to host you all. It's really a lot of us, guys. We're very happy and excited. All right, just to warm things up a bit, before I introduce our guests, let's do a quick poll. Wawrzek, could you please share the poll for our lovely audience? Thanks. So please take a moment to what's wrong with the okay, that's the topic is cut a little bit, but you see the question just below. What is the biggest challenge for designers in making a real impact? You can choose as many answers as you want. It's totally anonymous. We'll see the results very shortly. So 30 seconds more. And let's see the results. Unfortunately, we as speakers cannot vote in this poll. Okay, can we see the results, Wawrzek? So what do we have here? Actually, most of them are having more or less the same number of answers. So do you guys want to comment on that? Are you surprised or not? We'll dive deep into this topic anyway, so if you want, we can move on. Yeah, all right. Let's move on and we'll explore that topic shortly. Well, I would love to introduce our guests today. So design is everywhere. It shapes our experience, the way we think. It shapes our choices, but can it truly drive positive change? Let's meet the brilliant minds joining us today, each of them bringing a unique and different perspective on the role of, we'll say it's so different, on the role of design in building a better world. So our first speaker, Lola Philippa, Managing Director at Base Design Brussels. Hi, Lola.
Hello.
So Lola joined Base Design in 2013 as an intern during her business studies and has grown within the agency ever since. With a background in operations, finance, and project management, she became managing director nearly 3 years ago. Lola blends her business acumen with a deep passion for culture and creativity, making her a natural fit to lead a studio where strategy meets design. And Base Design is an international network of creative studios located in Brussels, New York, Geneva, and Melbourne. So actually, Lola, where are you at the moment?
I'm in Brussels. I'm living and working in Brussels, but sometimes traveling to New York to see my colleague, to Geneva, but didn't have the chance yet to go to Melbourne.
Okay. I'm jealous that you had that opportunity. I would love to go there as well. So happy to have you here. Next, we have Tim Fenley, founder and creative director at Applied Information Group. Tim is a pioneering information designer and founder of Applied. With over 30 years of experience, he's led transformative wayfinding projects for cities like London, Seattle, Rio, and institutions like Google. He co-founded Meta Design, shaping iconic identities for brands like Audi. Tim is a strong advocate for human-centered design and innovation in urban navigation. Hello, Tim.
Hi, everybody.
Great to have you here. So you are based in London, as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm in my London office today.
Okay, great to have you. And Applied is wayfinding and spatial design studio that simplifies complex environments, cities, as I mentioned before, or transport systems through smart, user-friendly design. Am I right?
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Olga.
Perfect. And finally, we have Karolina Pospisil, Brand and Strategy Director at Admind, Branding and Communications. Karolina joined Admind in 2015 and played a key role in initiating its conscious branding approach. That's why we invited you, Karolina, to join that webinar. Karolina is an award-winning strategist and lecturer specializing in business development, branding, market analysis, and she's passionate about diversity and inclusion. She leads strategic workshops for clients undergoing transformation and for Admind's team as well, as actually happened today. With a strong creative background and commitment to positive impact, she continues to shape Admind's vision and drive meaningful change. Hi, Karolina.
Hi. Nice.
Good to have you. And a few words about Admind, which I'm also honored to represent today. We are a leading B2B branding agency focused on corporate transformation, sustainability-driven design, and conscious branding mentioned a minute ago. So yeah, again, so happy to have you here and so excited to have so many people joining this webinar. I hope you will get a lot of fantastic insights, and maybe you will be able to implement some of our tips to your work, everyday work, or your organizations. So yeah, let's dive into our discussion. So I'll guide that conversation with a few questions, but feel free to build on each other's point. And quick reminder, please, if anyone wants to ask any question, use the Q&A section at any time during the meeting, and at the end of the session, we'll try to answer as many as possible. Okay, so let's start. Design is often associated with visuals, how things look. But as we all know here, it's about how things work, how they feel, and how they shape our behavior and values. So let's kick by going deeper than just the surface. Lola, you lead the team at Base. How does Base Design ensure that branding goes beyond just aesthetics and truly connects with culture and values?
Yes, but I think something I wanted to mention is that, and I guess it's the same for Admind and Apply Information Group, but at Base, I think branding has never been only about look and feel or aesthetic. That's why also we call it branding and not only about graphic design. What we really try to do with all our clients, with and for all our clients, is really to help them to express really what are their value, their culture, what their company believes. So for us, it's really important to anchor any visual proposal, any look and feel into some things that's really anchored into the company. So what we mentioned, I have something. What we always say is that we really work on defining the true essence of a brand or of a project, of a brand, institution, organization. And to do so, and I guess we are not the only one, but what we love to do is really spending as much time as we can with our client, with those companies, with the people working in those companies, to really be able to deeply understand and define what makes them unique. Because I'm truly believing, and at Base, we truly believing that each project, each company, each institution is really unique. And our job is really trying to reveal, to define, to verbalize this uniqueness. And this uniqueness is, of course, part of it. It's coming from their value, from their culture. So voilà, we really try to spend at the beginning of a project as much time as possible with those clients through work session, through interview, through research, to really be able to get as many information on what makes them different, what they are standing for, what are the change they would like to drive for them, for the world. And then, as I mentioned, really verbalize this to help them to communicate it to the outside world. And as we really put a lot of efforts, but that are really like needed in that phase, then when comes the more like visual phase, of course, it's really anchored in the DNA, in the value, in the culture of a company, of the project. So I hope I'm answering your question, but at Base, that's how we try to ensure that branding is not on, it's going indeed beyond aesthetics. It's really doing an important job and really going deep into each company and trying to reveal what makes it different and trying to communicate it to the outside world. And one thing I want also to say is that it's actually not only for the outside world, it's also for the internal. Like most of the time when we do those kind of work session, interview, when we gather the people, I guess Carolina, you do a lot of those workshops as well. We really see like the cohesion and we really see the added value it's bringing as well to the team, to the internal team and the client, and how it's also helped the team to be to go in the same direction. So it resonates internally, but also externally.
Thank you. Thank you, Lola. Tim, let's turn to your word of wayfinding. How can actually wayfinding and information design influence behaviors and shape societies for better?
Thanks, Olga. I think first off, you've just got to be careful about for better, because that's really subjective. For better, for who, for what?
Of course.
I think what we do fundamentally is just, I personally believe it's better. And I think that resonates with a lot of our clients, because what we try and do is give people freedom to move, freedom to make their own choices. I think that's one of the biggest drivers for humans. We enjoy freedom. So if you're in the field of giving people freedom, I think that's a good area to be in, and you can make an impact. So how can we impact? I think we've got a whole load of expertise as designers. We can be very, very good at things. How do you apply that? I think what we do is we try and get into measurement. It's not easy, because I think some people said in the poll, inability to measure things. I'm going to come back to this, because it's not my background, but I've learned how important it is to actually measure things. So I'll give you an example. When we designed London's walking system, we've now got statistics that tell us that it's walking in London has gone up by 5%, which is about 400 million journeys a year. So now, is that helping the health service? Is it making people more healthy? Is it giving people better experiences? I'm pretty sure it is, but actually we're not paid by journey, so that's a shame. But the point is that tells me that when we do work for other places, that we know we can have an impact. Do I think it's for the better? I hope it is. I think freedom can only be a good thing. So I think if you can focus your work on those kind of objectives, you're going to get clients nodding along, thinking, well, that's a good thing for us to do. Maybe a bigger subject for later.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love that freedom statement. And actually, I always, when I think about like good wayfinding design, I always think about inclusion as well. So probably that's that impact as well, and that making things better. But we'll move on. So, Carolina, what role does branding play in corporate transformation and like long-term impact?
Yeah, I think it's about authenticity. So as Lola said, branding communicates values. It's not just aesthetics. And it's as long as the company really stands for the values that it's communicating, and then the transformation happens around that axis, that it's always in the core of that. So our role is to kind of align the branding, the aesthetics with the message, with the purpose that we want to that the brand wants to convey and that it stands for. So it's as if you had like the aesthetic could be an outfit, and we work on the outfit, but the outfit also is kind of representing the reputation, which is the purpose. And then, of course, you can change the outfit whenever you want, but the reputation is something that kind of keeps the brand going and ensures that they have the clients, they have their vision, and they exist in long term. So I think transformation really needs to be built around that purpose and I think here in AdmindWebinar we have the same kind of approach to co-create, invite our clients, understand what is the transformation about, why is it happening, all the like key strategic questions to ask them, and to make sure this is represented in the aesthetic part as well.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to get back to that B Corp month a little bit. So as I mentioned at the beginning, all of today's speakers represent organizations that walk the talk when it comes to purpose. And being a B Corp is no small feat. It's a real commitment to doing business differently. So let's talk about how that affects design work. Lola, how has becoming B Corp changed the way Base operates, both internally and with clients?
Yes, but maybe before I wanted to say that I'm really happy to be part of 3 companies that are B Corp certified and 3 companies that are active in design and communication, if I could say. Because I think it's not happening a lot, also probably more in the US, but in Europe, I didn't have been yet in contact with so many companies that are B Corp. So I think it's really great to be part of that webinar in that context as well. So as you mentioned, yeah, business design has been, I think we got the certification a bit more than a year ago. And how becoming B Corp changed the way we operate internally and externally. I think first thing first is that I always like to say that for me, getting the certification is not only about getting the certification. It's a bit weird saying like this, but me, I really took that as my responsibility, I think 3 years ago to enter that process. Because for me, it was really important to have a frame, to have a kind of a roadmap that would help me to guide the different the different things I could put in place to be more responsible as a company, to, if I could say, act for a better word, but again, as Tim mentioned, better, it's quite subjective. So I think really, as you mentioned, B Corp, it's really not only about the certification. This is really about one milestone that is nice to have because as all you knows, it's a lot of works to get the certification. So it's nice to have it. But I think it's really this idea of being committed and really being committed, I would say, to accountability. So as I mentioned, for me, what it changed internally is that having really this B Corp had really helped me to have that roadmap to kind of audit the whole company, define where we were standing, what we were or are doing already in a good way in the different areas of impact, and where we should improve. So for me, that was really about the starting point. So now I have really a better idea on the different impact areas I would like to push, to continue involving, to continue being better as a company. For me, as a young managing director, it was really important when I joined that position a bit more than 2 years ago to go for a project like this, because I think we, as a company, whatever type of company, but as a branding company, I think we have a duty to be to stay relevant and to stay relevant for the people we are working with, our employees, so related to our governance employee, relevant for the client we are working with, relevant towards where we stand. So, all the things about community, who we found, our suppliers, so the different contact we have with the outside world, and of course, towards the environment. So for me, it was really, really important to go towards that B Corp works, to go a step forwards in that relevance, and to also, as I mentioned, having that roadmap. So as you all know, when you go to the B Corp certification, I think it helps you to define where you are already good at. So I think it's great to see, because that's really, I realized, for example, in terms of employee team governance, I really realized we were really not nowhere. But B Corp forced me to formalize and processize, if I could say, I don't know if it's correct in English, everything we were doing. And actually it was a lot of work, but it really helped me and it will help me to better share it to the team and also to the outside world. Then another thing, I think more probably to the outside work, of course, when we have the B Corp certification, is something you can share. It's something that shows commitment. So of course it's helping us when we are in a call for tender in some competition, because more and more potential government clients are asking to working with agencies that are committed for good. And having that certification is already a step. It's not everything, but it's already a step. So that's one, I would say, towards the outside world. But I don't want to use it as a greenwashing machine or social washing machine, the certification. But of course, it's helping. And then in terms of the client, I think at base we have always like intuitively had a feeling of what are the clients we would like to work with or how to select our clients. But through the work of B Corp and having now that certification, it really kind of help us to go a step further in defining those criteria of client selection. Of course, we are not, I won't lie, we are not a company specialized in ONG and only like specific kind of work that only do good. We are active in culture, we are active in lifestyle, we're working for commercial brand, we're working for corporate brand, and we will continue doing. But still in the selection of those clients, we are really now more and more aware, and we have really a more precise question to ask those clients before getting any further. And I think that's something that B Corp really helped us doing. So overall, I think B Corp is that internally or externally, I think B Corp really helped us to increase our responsibility. That was, I think, already there, but that's not going, I would say, a step further. And my mission and the mission of the whole company is to continue going another step further and to continue evolving, to continue involving our diversity inclusion, in our environmental impact, in the client we're working with, in how we work with our employees, in how we work with our client, with suppliers.
So actually, we could call it a journey. Like being
Yes.
a B Corp is kind of a journey. So
I
actually,
always mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, yesterday, we as Admind completed our assessment for recertification. So greetings to our colleagues Piotr and Alicia who did it somehow. So now we have to wait for results. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, certificate, you only get it for 3 years and you have to renew it every 3 years. So now you're waiting for the second recertification for us.
And maybe one note on this one, B Corp is also to make it even more relevant, they are making their standards of certification evolving.
Yes.
Attending a conference lately where they were like sharing they are not getting there into the new standards. So I guess in 2 years when we will have to recertificate, I will go to new standards. So I'm also really curious about those new standards and how it will kind of shape the roadmap I have today.
Yeah, Carolina, so I wasn't here at Admind where we got our first time our B Corp certificate. So probably you will know more about that journey, that experience. So do you think that anything changed after we got the certificate, or maybe we tried to change something before getting the certificate? How did it involve like our organization?
I think it's like a mix of both, because one thing, like getting the certification, as Lola also said, is like holding a mirror, you know, and you look like, okay, this we have done well, but like what else, how we can make it better right now. So getting the certification, going through the process itself already gives you kind of directions, ideas, what you can improve, where you are super strong at, and so on. For us was also at the same time we were working on the idea of conscious branding. What does it mean to be part of it, to create it, to have it as part of experience with our clients. And we were kind of thinking in terms of communities, right? Because we have our community, our company community, like how do we work? How do we treat ourselves? What the policies do we have? And then we kind of go further, okay, what kind of clients do we have? How do we collaborate with them? What are the tools for the designers to make the designs more conscious or bring, you know, sustainability? And yeah, it is kind of like a scale, because you go from green, sustainable, conscious, and you can go further. But just like in B Corp, those kind of things evolve, those regulations evolve, So with that, our community, we were kind of expanding further. Of course, our clients have their customers, and how are we treating them? And of course, now we have this wonderful community of other design organizations, as we are meeting here, right? We have the possibility to invite to the processes and other projects that we already have with our clients or NGOs and so on to expand this and work on that. But yeah, I remember the very first certification, and it was very, very exciting because it was our dream. It was a super clear vision also from our CEOs. So everyone was super on board, and we were really eager to see, okay, where do we stand in that scale?
So hopefully we'll have a chance to celebrate again in September, when we hopefully get the certificate again. So team, did that certificate you also have changed the way applied integrate purpose-driven design into your work?
I think I was just reflecting from what you said, Lola and Carolina, about why we did it and what impact it's had on us, because I think that's the essence of your question. But I think if I just off the top of my head, I think it's done three things for us. Firstly is it stands for something. We stand for something. And B Corp's a way of recognizing that you stand for something. And when we read what B Corp was actually measuring, we were like, well, yeah, this is actually, that kind of resonates with us. Why wouldn't we want to be measured on that basis? So I think the idea that you can do something that you believe in, that you can stand for, I think that's kind of internally quite powerful. I think secondly, the biggest impact we've seen has been on recruitment and people coming for jobs. They've all mentioned it, and we're like, oh, right, God, we didn't realize that was so important. And I think it represents, for somebody who's coming to work for you, like, okay, they're people who stand for something, who take care. And I think more and more people are more interested in who they're working for and why they're doing the job than they are just doing the job. And especially we're lucky in our world, aren't we, in the design world, that we can have jobs like that. And I think the third thing, and I've just reflected on this, is that it's given us how can I put it? It's enabled us, allowed us to go and do some things on our own. So we've actually, Legible London was actually our own project. It was our own idea. We presented it to the city. It took us 3 years of lobbying to get everybody to kind of like, okay, this might be a good thing. So I'm a big believer in like, just drop the shackles and have a go at something. As designers, we can see so many answers. We're not necessarily got clients asking us the right question. So I'm sometimes like impatient, and B Corp's kind of like one of my excuses as to why I'm doing that. So at the moment, I'm cycling and walking around the UK and find the cycling and walking environment really, really confusing and badly structured. So I started a project to change it all. And I've had loads of people in government say to me, well, good luck with that. And I'm like, yep, don't worry, we'll get there. It's going to take us 10 years. And I kind of like know we stand for something. So B Corp's giving us that kind of like freedom, freedom, maybe wrong word, that ability to go and tackle something. The second point I wanted to make was just, I think some people were asking about how does it work with clients. I think when you get to it, really what's behind a client's brief is they've got a bigger objective. And if you can connect to that bigger objective and point out, well, there's other objectives along the way. You could do this, all of this, and be sustainable. Then, I'm starting to see clients go, well, that's a good idea. This is going to include everybody, isn't it? Yes. And so you kind of like, you're not leading with that. You've got to lead with what the client thinks is their problem and answer it. And then you can add these other things on. And I'm seeing more and more clients kind of being a bit more interested in that. And I'm hoping it's just a direction of business and government and culture and I hope it goes that way. Glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you mentioned it. Of course, we all know that not every client walks into the room and ask for sustainable long-term thinking. Sometimes it's up to the designer to steer that ship and to convince somehow. So, Carolina, if Tim already covered that a little bit, especially on that example. So how do you persuade clients to embrace sustainability rather than focusing on short-term aesthetics?
I would say that if we had this conversation maybe 3 years ago, it might be a little bit longer. Right now, I think we're happy to be in let's say better place with it, meaning like branding is not anymore perceived as the cherry on top, just the aesthetics, and I think companies are more aware that simple visual solutions fade away more if there's no kind of stance behind it. So this conversation is not that tricky because also, clients have much more consciousness and awareness around that. But of course, it's on us to promote it, to add to the conversations that we're having and show the long-term goals. As Tim said, like it's the clients already come with something they need to solve, but we can show them what are other things they can solve on the way. So that's always something, underlining the benefits, the other benefits that they can have from a project, for instance. On the other hand, I think it needs to be said that aesthetics and sustainability, they don't kind of contradict, or they're not exclusive. You can still do something that is very aesthetically appealing, but it has the smartness and the thought behind it, and combine it with the memorable purpose, and the reason you're doing things in the first place. So I think aligning those two, and bringing that to the table, and to adding that to the presentation, to the pitch, and showing that those two can kind of meet together, that adds a huge, I think, benefit to the conversations like this with clients. Yeah.
So have you all guys have some like interesting examples of how you managed to change someone's approach, or to include some more sustainable approach to some projects? Have you got like some examples in mind? Lola?
Yeah, but yeah, I have some example, but one thing I wanted to say is that I think we can, of course, have an influence in helping them, a bit like Carolina mentioned, in challenging them, in helping them to define what is this responsible approach, communicate about this responsible approach, visualize it to make sure that the message is well understood and attractive as well. But I think the responsible approach, to take the question, the responsible approach should come first from the client, because I think as an agency, we can come with recommendation, but I think it will always be stronger if it's like there is a real need, or real fear, or real intuition, or real like envy that's coming from the client, that says we want to, well, we are responsible in this kind of approach, or we want to be more responsible, this is what we will put in place. How you can help us now to, again, as I mentioned, create the story behind it, communicate about it. So I think that's why in the example one I have in mind, because I think it's really one of our more long-term client, if I could say. It's a Belgian client. It's called Maison d'Andois. It's family-owned biscuit company. They are existing soon for 200 years. So I
Wow.
think the story behind this client is really interesting, and what also make it like really anchor in a responsible approach. So it's a family business. They're producing biscuit in Belgium, in Brussels for 200 years, and it has always been in Brussels. Now I think it's been like more than 20 years we are working with them, doing the full rebranding to the website, to the boutique, to many things. And now the challenge we have today, but I would say like for 3 years, is really helping them to communicate about what they are standing for, as Carolina mentioned. And what they are standing for is that now for years they're working on what we call regenerative agriculture. Now they're working mainly with local, mainly I think only with local producer. They're trying a new recipe to use some waste as well. So I think now, before our challenge, it was to make them look a bit more contemporary and to tell the story to the people that did not know them. And now the challenge is really to tell that new story that's about a new way of producing, a new way of selling, a new way of consumption. And I really love that story because I think it's really like collaboration or co-creation, because it really coming from them, because it's really anchored in their DNA, this idea of doing good, producing good, being a company that's responsible, and we are really accompany them in that journey. So I could come with other example, but I think for me it's the more meaningful example I would like to share. And of course, as Carolina mentioned, I think more and more clients now are coming by themselves with a need of being more responsible, with even they say in terms when we do websites, try to have lower emission website, visual, using less heavy content, less printing, of course, and those are the basic. But what I'm really happy to see and to hear is that now it's coming more and more from the clients in the imagery, how to be really diverse, inclusive, for all those kind of things, in something we have, of course, in the back, but I would say even in the front of our head, but it's also more and more in the client's head. And I think that's really a great trend that we see more and more. And I think it will be more and more there as well, like kind of being a commodity as well.
That was a great example, Olaf. Thanks for sharing. Have
Olga,
you guys
Olga, I've got a very practical example. So
Yes.
5 years ago, we started working with Princeton University in the East Coast, US. And what was driving the project was their welcome. They'd really realized that they weren't very welcoming. It was kind of a secret place. It was kind of elitist, and they wanted to be much more open. They wanted to have much more connection with local community. They wanted many more visitors and international visitors and important visitors. And they realized their welcome really wasn't up to it. So we started looking at that. And then along that journey, we were like, well, if we're thinking about the welcome, then maybe we need to think about everybody who comes to the campus. And they were like, well, yeah, no, that's right. We've got to think about everybody. And we're like, yeah, well, then we need to think about people with different abilities. And we've got to think about how they will tackle the campus. Oh, we haven't thought about that. But yeah, you're right. That fits with our objective. And it morphed. We then found a team separate to us, separate to our client, who was working on accessibility, on improving. It's on a hill. It's a campus on a hill, so obviously it's got issues with physical ones. And then we hooked up with them. They were like, well, this is exactly what we've been trying to do. And the whole project has morphed into an accessibility project, really, which is how do we make this available for everybody? And that wasn't the objective at the beginning, but it actually was deep down in what they wanted. We helped kind of like bring that up, and therefore the solutions we're putting in are there to kind of solve those accessibility issues.
Great. Carolina, have you got an example as well?
I just wanted to add to that because it's also great to have this, as you both stated, this journey with our clients, right? For instance, we have a technology leader client that we've been working on their annual reports for over 10 years. And I can also see how we are kind of evolving there and how they're evolving with accessibility, for instance, it's no longer thinking, oh, what is more sustainable? Is it paper or digital? It's going further and further. So it's great to see how our clients also are opening and how they are coming to us. Okay, let's make this the lowest impact that we can. Let's find a way to do it, and especially those projects that you have as kind of like a long-term relationship. You know, this is very revealing how much is changing really in that.
Mhm. So we've covered the why and a little bit how. So now let's talk about watch out. So this is one of the biggest risk in communication. So greenwashing and all the other washings, because we deal with that during our daily work very often. So so I think that designers often find themselves caught like in the tension between vision and reality. So I'd like to cover that topic a little bit. Tim, could you please tell how you deal with avoiding greenwashing and yeah, like does it happen often in your agency that you have to like tell the client, okay, don't go further there in communication because it's not truly not truly transparent. So could you please tell a bit?
Yes, it happens. Yes, we've got clients who want to be more sustainable, for example. So they're often doing things that look sustainable, but are they? I think there's a bigger problem with society is that we don't really look at the true cost of things. I think somebody on the questions asked, do we use AI and are we aware of how much water it uses or something? I'm like, I think the journalists are really letting us down. I think there needs to be a lot more communication about what is the real cost. Because just saying AI is bad for the environment, I don't know. I do know I've studied electric cars, and not until you've driven them 85,000 miles are they starting to be better for the environment. That was a test from Volvo, and I'm sure there's got to be others. But I don't think there's enough debate and discussion about what is the real cost. That means that nearly everything you do can be called greenwashing because somebody will dig out a fact that says, well, that isn't the case. So I think it's really, that's difficult. I think what I find is that we're often working for businesses or governments, and businesses or governments are more guided by public opinion than anybody wants to realize. And therefore, is that if it's important to their audience that they're seen to be sustainable, they want to be. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, yes, there's a place to have visionary leaders who say, by the way, everybody, this is important and I'm going to do it. But it's also good that they're listening. I just don't think it's a quality enough discussion yet to actually, I don't think businesses want to greenwash. I don't think they're pretending. I think there's not enough detail. And I think that, again, one thing about B Corp is you've got to suddenly go into a whole load more detail to kind of explain what you are really doing. So that's another reason why we were really supportive of that, because I kind of want to know the real cost, the real impact. Because then you know what you're doing that's really going to make a difference.
So have any of you actually resigned the project because of the not transparent or not trustworthy approach of the client? Have you got that kind of experience?
No, I've never had to resign a client like for that.
But
no.
Have you got like no-go list that you like the list of the sectors that you don't even start preparing the offers or
good question.
starting the
I think we
conversation?
do. We've just never written them down.
Okay, it's like
I
more
don't think we'd work for gambling
intuitional.
companies because we're
Oh,
not
yes.
interested in that.
Hmm.
But
No.
I think you've got to look at everything. I actually did a trip to Saudi Arabia and I thought, whoa, should I go and do that?
Mm.
Like, I've got this preconceived idea about what Saudi Arabia is, and it was not what I expected. So I'm pleased I went to see with my own eyes.
Mm.
Not perfect, but neither is America at the moment, if I can put it that way.
True. What about Lola, Carolina? Have you got the experiences like that?
But I think same as Tim, we never really stop a relationship with a client because of that, but we for sure never initiated some because of those reasons. So as Tim, I think we have some sectors that are the obvious one that we will never work for.
Mm.
And it's not even coming to us, or as soon as it's coming to us, we don't even consider. So this is kind of in our DNA from day one. But as I mentioned at the beginning, of course, now with being more and more conscious, responsible with the help of B Corp, we are asking more and more detailed questions before starting working with a client. And those questions will help us to define, okay, do we want to go or not? And as soon as we have too many doubts, we prefer to not go.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like 0-1
Yeah.
measurement anymore, because there are like different points that you have to kind of take into that matrix. We have something written down and then we use it as guidance to choose the clients. I know that likewise we did not decline collaboration, but we meaning like we didn't stop any project, but we did decline offers, for instance, in some with some governments or when it was like gambling sector, I remember. So this was like we gathered all the info that we could. We looked at the big picture close up and everything to make that decision a bit informed, but it was a choice, yeah, to choose the clients that we want to work with.
Mm. But I also believe that like we could also follow or guide or support the client in their journey to
Yeah,
transformation, any
that was part
yes.
of our kind of thinking around conscious branding, like whatever on that spectrum from green or wondering what does it mean sustainability, our client is. We are, if they're eager, and if they want to take a step, we're super there for everyone who wants to go through that process or who wants to kind of do better on that scale. And of course, this is like not jumping from one point to another in one day. We know that it's a longer journey for some organizations, depending on their complexity and their their core purpose as well.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm very excited because we already have a few very interesting questions asked by our audience. So just to remind everyone, you can write your questions in Q&A section and we'll proceed very shortly to answer as many of them. Okay, maybe because you already mentioned that team, is using AI in your work okay with B Corp certificate, knowing it uses a lot of water?
I think I answered that, Olga. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you don't know.
We are using it. I think
Yeah.
be careful. I think that the story that we're hearing that AI is going to take over, I don't believe it. I think it will have an impact, but it'll be a much smaller one than anybody thinks. It's getting hyped. In terms of how much energy is it saving us doing things? How much, therefore, is it costing? We don't know what that cost is yet.
Oh.
I actually saw a stat that said, you know, one thing about B Corp was we do a lot of traveling because we work all over the world. And we were kind of like, oh, blimey, that's our carbon footprint right there. So what do we do about it? So we've instigated some policies to reduce the trips. How can we do them from distance? Whenever we go for longer. We try and jump 3 or 4 places all in at once, stay away for 2 weeks. But I also found a stat that said that the actual video conferencing world has got a larger carbon footprint than all the aeroplanes. Now, I don't know if I believe that. I'd love to see some more studies about it, but because of the computing power to do what we're doing today. But I think you can't beat humans interacting with each other as a way of bringing peace to the world and benefits to the world. You can't beat it. So I think those are necessary costs in order for us to do good things. But like I said, I don't quite know what that cost is.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. And that thinking about balancing that AI with anything else, it's not so easy nowadays. So
It's
what do
like
you think, girls?
it's just like, you know, years ago we were wondering like, okay, digital is way more sustainable than printing out things, you know, and we have more data with time. We know what is the carbon footprint of each medium. And then with AI as well, like it really depends how we are using and for what purpose. Are we just using it to Google things instead of Google, or like doing like strategic work which could take, I don't know, 3 people more working 5 days, for instance. I don't know, just giving an example that it's really for now, as Tim said, we don't have the exact kind of measurements and data to say it right now. But what we can do is be just mindful on how we do it.
Lola, would you like to?
Olga, I saw a wonderful fact. You know, in Heathrow, we've got a wonderful airport that stopped because it ran out of power.
Yes, I know.
So Heathrow's airport pulls 40 somethings, 40 megawatts. I can't remember. There is a nearby data center that's pulling 120 of 40
This is
megawatts.
crazy. This is crazy.
40 megawatts to power a whole airport, but 120 for a data center. I mean, I love these facts. We're not. Are we aware of these real costs?
Yeah, maybe I wanted to jump on what like even Tim and Karanila mentioned. I think it's really a question of balance. We are far from being perfect, and who is perfect? I think I like the example of Carolina, like from print to digital, and we all thought that digital would be more like environmentally friendly, but actually it's not. So now it's like in all the new evolution of the behaviors and the tools we use, of course, we need to be aware of the plus and the minus of those kind of new tools and new ways of working. And it's, for example, as I mentioned, how we do website, we're trying to working with more sustainable practices, even if I mentioned we are not for being perfect. AI is the idea of using AIs, but not everywhere at all time. And coming back to B Corp, that's what I really love, and I think Tim mentioned this as well about B Corp, is that environment is one part and is really an important part of being responsible for sure. I don't want to diminish that, but B Corp is really covering like all the different aspects of a business. And it's not only focusing on the environment, it's about like social, it's about governance, it's about employees, it's about all those different things that makes the business and a company today. So again, today we need to balance through all those different aspects of the business and see, okay, what are our battles? Today as a branding agency, to be honest, I did my carbon footprint and we are not producing anything in terms of product, or I guess like you or you. We are not producing stuff. Of course, our impact in terms of data, of the server, all those kind of things is more important, and we are really kind of prioritizing this. But then it's all the other aspect. Actually, we had to have more point or more place to improve in all the different aspects of the business. So it's really finding that balance. I also love what Tim mentioned is about also having information, not misinformation. Yes, AI water, but what does it mean exactly? Today I didn't do the research, and I know it's consuming a lot of water to cool down the thing, etc. But I don't want to say it's true, and that's why I won't use AI anymore, because I don't have the real data. So I would say it's about real great information and not misinformation, and it's about balancing. And we are not perfect, but we are trying our best to improve ourselves on a day-to-day in those different areas.
Thanks, guys. So I've got a tricky question from our attendee. How did you learn sustainable design? So is it something that you actually can learn, or it comes from your personal values, or you just need to meet the right people around? What do you think? What should be your advice? Because I think that the question covers the willingness to go that way.
Yeah, I think it starts from your from the values that you have, right? If you want to kind of pursue that. That's one. Having community and other designers who are passionate about it helps a lot as well. There are, for instance, at Admind, we sat down and we looked at the kind of procedures, tools, and things we do and how we can make them better. And it was a conversation with all the designers on board, project managers, creative directors as well, and of course our clients. But yeah, there are some really interesting courses out there, especially when we're talking about avoiding greenwashing, because I know that in terms of design, there are a lot of cultural codes, like, everything green. Leaf next to logo means this is eco-friendly, and what does it mean eco-friendly? So I think there are a couple of interesting courses out there that give you options and give you those aha moments. Okay, I've been doing this way. How can I do it differently? And it also concerns communication, so it's also for copywriters. There are some things there, but I think a big part is community, joining webinars, listening to podcasts, and there are a lot of great thinkers out there and people who share their experience.
Yeah. And maybe on this point, sorry, you want to go, Tim?
No, please, Lola, go ahead.
No, I kind of agree. I think it's really like being like learning and being informed and listening, attending conference, reading and exchanging with people that are even more into those topics. And for example, here at Base, not only in the context of B Corp, but through the context of B Corp, I would say, I've decided, I asked some of my team, my colleagues, okay, I would love to have an internal task force about diversity and inclusion, for example. And so I came to see the people that I know have more knowledge in those topics than me or other, for example. And I asked them, okay, it's not your job to inform and create awareness only through your knowledge, but I want you to help us to have more information, to act in your job, to be more active in those topics internally, but also for our clients. And so now they are inviting some people to come to talk to the team. They are sharing some content, gathering the content in a kind of a database for all the people of the office. They are also like make sure that all the design communication team are implementing the good practice in the presentation, all those kind of things. So I think, well, it's also learning by doing, learning by assigning some people that have more knowledge than others and make sure that they can help to share and invite people that have those more knowledge and sharing to the team, how we can also share that with our clients, how recently we work in a project and through a client we realize that someone have more knowledge than we have on a specific topic linked to sustainability, how we can create some cross connection to increase the knowledge from both sides.
I think Carolina and Lola, I think you've captured it. I think you've got to have an interest in the first place, and then you'll find that expertise. I was thinking the other thing that I think in our world, in the area that we work in, that we've got an ability to impact is, I don't know, just call it common sense, or we saw it as a design challenge, but it's the issue of life cycle. So we try and design in cradle to cradle kind of systems. So we design systems that last. We need a system that's going to last 20. And because that has, I mean, obviously, much more sustainability to it. And that's in our world. We can do that. So what we talk about is we're working in a sort of like semi-communication, semi-branding, but semi-architectural world. So a 20-year kind of like time length for our systems is a good objective. And when you start saying to the client, but let's design something that lasts 20 years, then they're thinking, well, that's gonna be a really good idea because I don't have to redo it in 5 or 10 years. So they're thinking, bottom line, great. And we're thinking, yeah, it's also sustainable. Don't have to redo it. Don't have to use that energy up. Don't have to go through this process again. As long as we make it scalable, as long as we make it so that it can adapt. And then when we get them interested in that, they're like, oh, this is really good. It's scalable and it can do all sorts of things. And I'm going to leave something better for the managers who follow me, because in the end, people are actually quite, I think, we're all driven by some similar things. And if you can tap into those positive drivers that the people that your clients that you're dealing with, it's amazing how much they can, I don't know, embrace that. We try not to make a huge deal of it. We try not to say, I'm very wary of, we turned up to fix this problem, we're going to tell you you've got a different problem. I'm like, I don't think people like that. So we kind of like add all these as like, these are wonderful extras. That's kind of our approach.
Thank you for that.
Yes,
please.
Coming back to the very initial question about brand transformation, it's the same as you, Tim, are saying. Like the most successful transformation is the one that we can kind of help our clients go through, that will give them a long-lasting life of their branding, like something that lasts longer, and especially if you kind of deploy a brand governance service to that, then we know that this is something that can or is already sustainable. Like we don't have to, bend over backwards for things when we have services that already make it sustainable. Yeah.
Thanks for the comment. So I've got two quite similar questions. Let me go to that again. You've mentioned that a little bit, but maybe it's worth covering deeper. Have you noticed if certification, or I mean that approach, has had any impact on your recruitment? Are different people applying to you now, or because of that?
I think Tim mentioned something about that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if different people are. I think what we've found is it's important to people. Maybe it's just they said, yeah, no, I wanted to apply for this because that was something I wanted to connect to. I'm just giving that feedback because I've had that said to us numerous times. So I think that can only be a positive, as long as they're good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree more. I think it's the same. I don't, when I'm like into a recruitment process, I don't like push in front, we are B Corp certified, etc. But of course, if they look on our website, social, they will see. But again, again, like same as team, I think we feel that more and more it's important to them. And I think it's reassuring to those who are applying, and that it's reassuring to get to know that we are B Corp certified, and that means that we are acting in, I hope, good direction. So to be honest, I don't have a really concrete example of someone that apply and say, I'm applying because you are B Corp. They don't say it like this, but when we discuss, when they start working with us, we feel, again, talking about value, talking about culture, we feel that it's like a way to attract people that have common value, a shared sense of a culture, and I think that's the most important.
Yeah, I think it's a big driver when the candidates makes decision or they choose a company. It's like the same what we do with our clients is can they feel that we are true to our purpose? Can they really feel the values through that? But when they also see that we took this initiative, we made an effort to get certified, it also tells them we have certain standards that they can rely on. And one thing, and I think what maybe changed a bit throughout the years of the process of recruitments that we had after certification, we do ask those questions during the interviews. We were just like eager to know what is the candidates' awareness around this topic. Because of course B Corp is hugely known, but sometimes it's not so obvious for everyone what does it mean. So we made sure that it's part of what we explain about ourselves, but we also want to know how much awareness there is on the other side.
Thank you. So let's move to some other questions. There's really a lot of them now. In your opinion, when talking about sustainable design, do designers always have to produce a measurable impact?
Yeah,
That's the question we had about
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw that one, and to be honest, I'm not a designer myself. But as I mentioned in the introduction, I always love to be surrounded by designers, creative people, and I think it's always fun. What what I'm feeling here at base is always this balance between creativity, because we want to be like creative and let this intuition and creativity going, and creativity also that help client to differentiate, be out there, meet the objective, whatever they are, and then measuring. And it's you, as I think Tim mentioned, we cannot always measure.
Yeah.
And it's not only depending on our work, also like the impact that the client will have, or the design will have, it's not only depending on the design, it's only depending on the business strategy of the client. It's depending on so many things. So I don't think they don't have, for me, I would answer quite like intuitively, and I would say that I don't think designers always have to produce a measurable impact. I think it's again finding a good balance between creative, design thinking, information, for example, for team thinking, fitting, like make sure that it resonates the story of the client, and we kind of communicate about their value and their culture. And then when it's really needed, like creating, like measuring the impact, but not at all times. Sometimes we also need to just be creative.
I think it's a really good question. I think one thing that I found with B Corp was, I think what you said, Lola, it's about measuring a balance of a basket of items. Your impact on society, the environment, your employees, how you're governed. And I suddenly went, well, hang on a minute, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it comes down to, what was it, Peter Drucker, who said, you know, you only improve what you measure. Have a look at the world of business is driven by pretty much one measure, which is profit. Impact on the planet, who cares? Look at the profit number. Well, one of the reasons is that we're not measuring the impact on the planet. The measures for the impact on the planet are being argued about, and nobody's come up with the master measure. But profitability and share price, pretty obvious measures. Therefore, they get worked on. I think B Corp's part of, in answering the question about can it change the world, I think B Corp isn't going to change the world, but if anything we can do is going to just impact it a little bit. And I think what it can do is it's the opposite of this polarizing, there is only one success in business, which is your profitability line, which is actually B Corp stands for, well, you can be successful in all four at the same time, and that balance. And I stand for that. I think other B Corps stand for that. And I'm really pleased to be on a platform with other people who do stand for that. And if we're a beginning of a movement to say, no, let's go for something that's balanced and works for everybody, it's kind of obvious. It's kind of healthy. Who would argue against it? It's not saying you can't make good profit. It's just saying make sure you look after other things along the way. So I think we do need to measure some of those smaller things.
Yeah.
And we've delved into this world of measuring that for B Corp. We try and do that for our clients. Let's measure how many times people are lost. And they go, oh, never thought of measuring that. And we go, whoa, yeah, well, look at your numbers. They're terrible. You know, some of the places we work for, the number of people lost are truly terrible. And then the client's like, oh my God, what's the impact of that? And, you know, they're astonished. And suddenly we can grow the project. We can really deliver something. So I do think measuring the small things, not all of them, but measuring the small things is actually going to be a good thing.
Thank you, Tim. I hope we covered that. Oh, you want to add something? Please do it.
Just wanted to say that, yeah, technically there are things that, of course, we can measure, but there are a lot of aspects around the emotional impact of design, the kind of community impact of design. It is a political act in a way, right? So that is, yeah, that would need to be, as Tim said, measured somehow, and it's not something that we do. Yeah, it's not a given, but it's a balance. I agree.
Okay, so we have a few more minutes, so let's try to get to some other questions. Are your clients at all interested in having sustainability considerations included in the services you offer? So maybe we could talk about our experiences of when it was important for the client that we share or have the matching values, or that B Corp certificated was enough for the compliance. So I don't know.
Olga, I'm just trying to answer the question. I think the thing is that I can't speak for Lola and Carolina, but I think our businesses, we're not businesses that are there to develop sustainable solutions primarily. The point is that can what we do be more sustainable while we're doing it is where we come in. So they don't come to us and say, we want a sustainable solution. They come to us and say, we want this. How can you make it sustainable? And yes, they are saying that, greater or lesser degrees. Our experience.
Yeah, I agree with Tim. I don't know what to add.
Great.
I can add
no fight today between you. I mean, you are constantly agreeing.
Because
that's how
we are
B Corps work, actually. Yes, Yes, that's the point.
I think there's also the part, especially with the global brands and big corporations, that we have a lot of standards and regulations that are right now happening, that they have to be interested in that anyway. And we are part of their, let's call it a supply chain, right? So they are looking for partners that can kind of make sure that when they're doing the ESG report, for instance, that we are kind of helping them to achieve certain results. But yeah, this is part of what is already happening as also.
So actually, the person called Holly asked the question which I was supposed to ask at the end of our meeting. So the ultimate question, can designers save the world?
Not on their own.
Of course.
Yeah, for me, I think I know it was a bit of a provocative title,
Of
and I think
course.
it makes sense. But I hope Carolina and Tim will agree with me, but probably not on their own. But I think like what we're trying to do in all our agency with Tim, Carolina, and me at Base Design is that through B Corp, but I guess through other initiative as well, is that we are trying to be a contributor to a better world. But of course, it's depending on so many other actors, companies, governments, politics, government politics. So I think designer can have a role to play, but I don't think they can save the world on their own. But I think if we are all doing a steps toward that direction, is already something better than known. So let's continue in that direction.
Actually, there are some comments in chat as well. Isa wrote, I strongly believe that they play a very big and important role.
Yeah.
So would you like to add anything to that ultimate question and ultimate answers?
I think I've already had one go at it. I totally agree with you, Lola. I just want to see more people in global leadership roles who know what design is. Like, sorry if I'm really out of order here, but why are lawyers often our political leaders? What do they know about creation, about innovation, about making things better? They know how the system works. So therefore, we perpetuate the system rather than inventing better. So can designers change the world? Yeah, we can always invent a better way. So give us a chance. But this is the wrong audience. I think we all agree with that. It's just so what I'm trying to do is get friends with some powerful politicians to tell them this is how to design stuff.
So that's the plan.
One of them, in my
Yeah.
little ants that we are, and an impact on the world.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
I think we are all rooting for that. I think no revolution here. I agree with Lola and Tim. We are all kind of responsible for what we put out to the world as creators, as people. But yeah, as long as we kind of expand this community of people being more conscious and aware of it, then I think we're good on the way. But yeah, my heart is saying strongly yes if we are invited to the table, to the conversation.
And all I'd say is don't take no for an answer. We can invent different ways. Just go on and do it.
Good point for end. So there is so many questions left and we don't have much time to cover them. So I just want to say that you can, you know where to find us. I mean, our agencies, you're all free to contact us, ask your questions, go deeper to the topics we didn't have a chance to cover today. So I hope it was inspiring somehow, and maybe it will change some elements of your work or approach you have, or you will be able to impact your agency or your company you work for, to think about some other purposes that that also we share as the agencies hosting you today. So thank you again. Thank you, Lola, team, Carolina, for that discussion. I'm sure we could speak another 1 hour and a half. It was really great to have you here, and thank you also to the wonderful and very engaged audience. It was a great pleasure to have you so interested through the whole time. So if anything left is what you want to be covered, please find us, contact us, and we'll make sure we'll address all your doubts or questions.
I also see the question about courses.
Okay, yes.
Just because it's anonymous, feel free to reach out maybe on LinkedIn, and I'll send you the list.
And thank you so much, Admind and Olga, for organizing this. It was really interesting to discuss with Tim and Carolina, and to see that many enthusiasm from the audiences and all the questions. So again, if you have other questions for me as business design, same, you can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm really, I love to discuss about this topic.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Olga and your team. Thank you very much for inviting us along.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure. I really hope we'll do some other projects together, and I really am very positive about that, actually.
When we're in Krakow, we'll come and see you.
Yeah, of course.
And if you want to come to Brussels, we are here.
Next week. Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.